Hey, everybody. Wanted to pop in after tonight's festivities and today's insanity and give you some perspective on where we think the situation stands after today's big news and after tonight's big speech, because they're both part of the same thing. They're the opening shot of the 2024 general election. What you saw today was Donald Trump, where he loves to be, center of the spotlight. Do not believe for a moment that he's sad or mad or afraid of this indictment. He has a good chance of beating it. He knows that it's going to empower him politically. I want to talk to you about that pattern we've seen from the moment they raided Mar-a-Lago. While these are separate cases, they're relevant. Right after he raided Mar-a-Lago, Trump went up in every poll with Republicans. As the indictments were announced, and he said he was going to be arrested, Trump went up with Republicans. After today, he will go up even further with Republicans. So this is the beginning of the 2024 election. Now, we streamed his speech tonight because we thought it was important for you to understand exactly the terrain he's going to run on, exactly the package of lies and bullshit and deception he's going to build as a reality bubble, a shield around all of his people, and what he's going to tell them. Because if you accept that the 2024 general election is now on, you have to begin confirming your own mental structures around the reality, conforming them around the reality that you got to start fighting to peel off those voters. You're not going to get a lot of them. Look, at the Lincoln Project, we're very good at getting a small fraction of Republican voters to move. In 2020, it was about 3 to 8%. In 2022, it was about 7 to 11%. We hope to make it a larger fraction in 24. But it's important to understand that and to watch the lies tonight and to watch the style of the presentation tonight, because too many people, in my opinion, have begun to say, oh, well, I know what he's going to say. It's all bullshit. It's all a lie. Yeah, it is all a lie. But it's important you know what lies they are. It's important you see it up close, that you watch it and you internalize that is the Republican nominee for president. It's all these other guys, it's all over. They basically neutered themselves on live television for the last 4 weeks defending him. And even Ron DeSantis, who's now down below 20 in the poll, in a variety of polls, public and private, these guys are done. And the other reason they're done is, I don't know if any of you, and I was driving, so by the way, I'm a little punchy. I was driving for 6 hours after a speech today to get back in time to do this with you guys. I don't know if you listened to Fox News tonight. I was listening to it on XM in the car on the way back home. And after the speech was over, they were more fanatically pro-Trump than I've ever heard them, including in 2016 when they were pretty much at a fever pitch all the time. So I'm going to guess you're going to start seeing less and less of Tater on Fox. And you're going to start seeing more and more of the outrage machine that is going to generate a gigantic shield around MAGA voters for the most part. So it's important to know what those lies are and to watch them. And it's important to understand he was laying out his campaign platform tonight. The things that he was lying about, and shout out to Tom Nichols, who said, oh, the foreign policy part was very thoughtful, sarcasm font included. He was laying out it all tonight. He's going to run this campaign of grievance. The deep state is after me. It's all a lie. I'm a businessman. I did nothing wrong. Oh, and by the way, my economy was perfect. I handled everything beautifully. There was never any corruption. And he projects back onto Biden every one of his sins. You can watch him doing it tonight. You can see it happening in real time. So it's really, really important that you understand that staring it in the face once in a while is an important exercise. I don't like to watch the fucking guy. I don't like to stare at this umber shambling mound and listen to him lie. But sometimes there's a little bit of magical thinking on the left. And I've heard a lot of people in the last few days being a little too much victory lap. Oh, it's done now. He's being indicted, and now people will know he's paid money to a porn star. Folks, this guy's been impeached twice. This guy has been impeached twice. He has already been known for a generation to be a fraud, a criminal, a thief, a whoremonger, an adulterer, a scumbag, a weasel, a lying dipshit. I could go on for an hour of the terms of opprobrium about Donald Trump. Those are already baked in the cake. You think even a conviction is going to change the minds of the millions of MAGA voters? It's going to solidify them. So please don't think that a legal case of which we have no political control is going to somehow magically break off a lot of those MAGA voters in the short term, especially not in the short enough term to allow Ron DeSantis or the suddenly frisky Glenn Youngkin, who's going to say he's going to get in the race soon, I hear, for either one of these things to shake him. If the Georgia case, it could go either direction. This case could go any old way. It only takes one juror to be an asshole, folks. So I would not bet on Donald Trump's conviction, even though I firmly believe he's guilty as sin in 1,000 different ways. You can't base a campaign strategy around a contingency and an externality that you do not control. So that's one of the reasons we wanted folks to watch what he said tonight, because he may be irritable that he's finally being held to some account and the rule of law applies to him. But he's also an opportunist of the greatest possible degree. He's a brilliant opportunist. He's raising money off this. He's consolidating power off this. He broke Rupert Murdoch off of this tonight. On Fox, they were doing everything but offering to wash his balls. It was over the top. So, guys, the general election of 2024 really has started. It really kicked off, I think, the day that they announced he was going to be indicted. But the moment where you saw the entire world focused on Donald Trump, the OJ-like attention all the way from the airport to Trump Tower, down to the courthouse today, all of it, the rigid focus. He has returned to where he dominated the media attention and the culture. And as much as we can bitch about it, okay, I hate it too. All right, I hate it just like you do. It's a reality. Fight around it, work around it, campaign around it, strategize around it, get to work. So listen, with that, I want to take a few questions. This is a really sort of run and gun presentation tonight, but we'll spend some time taking some questions. So they're going to throw them in the chat here. Oh, there's one. Would you agree on the Fox call, but will the Dominion lawsuit impact their support? No. The Dominion lawsuit will hurt them financially. I hope it damn near breaks them financially. I hope it makes them have to cut down on Tucker's hair gel budget. I hope it really hurts. But Fox is a machine that prints money. And I don't think Dominion will reach the point of damages that will, even if they win the case, which is still a ways off, guys. I don't think they're going to reach the point of damages where it will break the entire financial structure of Fox. I would like it to hurt them. I would like it to hurt them a lot because they are unbelievably mendacious and unbelievably destructive elements in our society. But I think that you're going to end up with Dominion having maybe there'll be an extra layer of lawyers, but at the end of the day, Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham and the Fox and Fiends in the morning, they're off the chain. They don't fucking care. I mean, what are they going to do? What's Rupert going to do? Say, no, Sean, you can't do X. No, Tucker, you can't say Y. Because right now, those people operate essentially as an independent fiefdom inside of Fox, barely even under Rupert's supervision, much less Laughlin's. So, all right, next question. Thanks, Elizabeth. That was a good one. Do you think Trump will be more choice after the Wisconsin Supreme Court vote? Trump is interesting right now because he does have a few things in his presentation that are more general election focused than you would have expected from the 1.0 or 2.0 candidate version of Trump. He has been talking about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid because he knows instinctively that many, many, many Republican voters are in that window. They use those benefits. And the fact that Ron DeSantis and many of the others have been in this sort of Paul Ryan-ish, let's cut it, let's reform it, let's privatize it mode. He knows how unpopular that is. Now, on the pro-choice side, I don't think he's going to become particularly pro-choice, but he might do something like this, well, I gave you all these conservative justices, and now you're putting it at risk by going too far in some places. Now, I don't know that he's going to do that. He is crafty. He is cunning. And really, no one else in the field, except maybe Mike Pence, has a degree of debt owed to them by the evangelical movement because he gave them the justices they want, no matter what their quality level was. That's a good question. But I don't think so. All right, let's have the next one. Will DeSantis back out and not run in 2024, Jay Planet? That is a question that is burning up in Tallahassee right now. And that is a question that many, many people are speculating on. My personal belief is that now that he's under 20, he's going to start getting what we call the phone call. So we're going to role play for a second, and I'm going to be a candidate. Call me Jeb Rubio, okay? It's 2016, and I'm getting my ass whipped all the time by Trump, and my numbers are going down and down and down. But I've got a bunch of billionaires who love me. Get the phone call. It's a donor. The donor says, hey, Jeb Rubio or Ted Paul, whatever. I love you, man. You're my friend. I love you. You're a great guy. You're the best. And I love supporting you. And you've been such a great candidate. And someday you're going to be a great president. But I don't think this year is the time. And you're young. You can do it again. You can run next time, and you're going to be a great president someday. But right now, I just got to get right with Trump. I don't want to be left behind. And this played out. I saw this play out over and over and over again. I've seen it play out in presidential campaigns before 16. I've seen it play out in statewide races before 16, where the guy who's inevitable, the guy who's the golden child, and DeSantis for about a year and a half has been the golden child of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the tech bros, all the big tech guys loved him. All the Silicon Valley guys loved him. The hedge fund folks in New York, the big bank guys, the stock market guys, the private equity guys, they loved Ron DeSantis. They thought, well, he went to Harvard and Yale. He can't be insane. Well, that wasn't right. But their major donors like that were really his main constituency. Trump always held a large percentage of the base. And our last poll has him about 55%, y'all. Ron DeSantis at about 25. And now that was before Ron DeSantis went out and repeatedly hit his own dick with a hammer in the last 3 weeks. And so DeSantis' numbers have gone way, way down. Now, there's a lot of money sitting in the bank right now. It's state money, not federal money, which is sort of a weird problem. And they can convert some of it to federal money, but not all. There's a real math question they have to do. Can we keep raising money like we did when he was governor, and could basically, for lack of a prettier word, blackmail people into giving him campaign donations? The usual thing. We got a legislative session coming up. It'd be a shame if the fill in the blank industry got regulated. So the question, can you keep raising this much money? The answer is no. The answer is that Trump is stepping on his head every day over and over again. And if you keep doing that as Donald Trump and without a real response from Ron DeSantis, your predicate for running and winning narrows every single day. And look, DeSantis came out in the most passive aggressive, weak dick way. And that one thing, he thought it was a hilarious little dig. Wow, I wouldn't know I don't know about paying off porn stars. And by the way, as someone described today, it's everyone's first husband mansplaining to them is his vocal tone. And it failed. It flopped. It died. It fell on the floor like a dead fish and rotted. He's been out on this tour, and every day he's on the tour, he's losing numbers. He's losing support because the reality of Ron DeSantis did not meet the fantasy of Ron DeSantis. He was a catfish candidate in a lot of ways. And we've seen these guys before. Remember, there was a period where Rick Perry, once upon a time, was the inevitable nominee for the GOP. There was a period of time when Jeb Bush was the inevitable nominee, and Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and Rudy Giuliani before that. all over and over and over again. You've seen these people Scott Walker, Tim Pawlenty, Bobby Jindal of the mysterious speech. You've seen these people do this over and over again. And so he's been the hot flavor. But once you got the hot flavor out in the hot sun, it turned into something really different. And the people are seeing now he's not a natural. He's not a candidate with that sort of felicity of manners and speech that makes a great candidate. And look, I hate Donald Trump with the fire of a billion suns, but he has a stage presence and a showmanship on the campaign trail that was a very big advantage for him in 2016. It's ugly, it's thuggish, it's shitty, but it's real. And DeSantis lacks that. And if all you've got is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, or as the MAGAs say, the open borders globalist U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and hedge fund guys and Silicon Valley bros supporting you, they only get one vote each. They may pour a lot of money into the system. They only get one vote each. And there's also been a lot of intrigue and backbiting and infighting inside of DeSantis' world, where his old super PAC guy got thrown out and his new super PAC guy came in. He's trying to take all the money. It's the usual shit that happens in dysfunctional campaigns. And so Jay Planet, in order to answer your question, I would say my money is on him not making the race. I could be wrong, been wrong before, been wrong plenty of times, but I think right now, Governor DeSantis and Lady DeSantis are really thinking hard about whether they want to put his career through the wood chipper of Donald Trump, because no one survives it. No one gets through. No one comes out of that alive. So, okay, next question. No, none of this will end Trump from running. Trump could be in jail and still legally run. You can't vote if you're a felon, but you can run if you're a felon. I think there are a couple states that forbid it, but it wouldn't really matter in the end. And here's the thing. As long as the spotlight keeps coming back to him, Trump believes there is no bad PR. Now, I disagree with this in the general, because I think we can split off more independent voters, more soft Republican voters, more what we call our Bannon line voters, that 7 to 11% I told you about. I think all the fuckery and the criminality and the craziness around him will let us say to a small but meaningful number of Republican voters, as we did in 22 and in 20, you don't want to be with this anymore. This is crazy town. This is insanity. We're not going to get a moderate Republican candidate through the primary. So your choices are either you vote for Trump or you vote for America. So no, I don't think any of this will stop him. I think this feeds the fire. And look, it's been great for him financially and for his ego to be in the spotlight again. All right, next question. While this indictment is undoubtedly going to consolidate Trump's position of the GOP in the base, securing the nomination for 24, ultimately doom his chances for re-election. The reason we wanted you to watch this tonight was to know what 24 is going to look like. And a lot of those messages he had tonight to rational human beings seem completely insane. I would have solved Ukraine in a day and all the beautiful buildings would still be there. No, you wouldn't have. You would have sold it to Vladimir Putin because you're a cheap little whore. But there is a prospect for all the legal trouble, as I said in the previous question, to cause a lot more friction and difficulty for him. But I would not overestimate the impact of it. We still have to beat him on a lot of the fundamentals, and the Democrats have to do a lot of blocking and tackling in the states. And the Democrats have to go out into the states where No Labels is going to try to put a conservative Democrat on the ballot to elect Donald Trump and burn them to the ground. That is a big sideshow. We have to talk a lot more about that going forward. But I mean, Damien, I think there is harm done to him. I think we can expand the group of voters we can get to, but the country is divided. It is siloed. It is broken into two competing camps. So I don't want to overestimate the damage that these cases will do to him, because it also does drive the Republican base tighter and tighter to him and bind them tighter and tighter to him and make them more loyal and feel more oppressed and angry. Okay, next question. Why haven't they sought a gag order? Cheryl, I'm not a lawyer and I don't know. I mean, you see the things he's been doing, and you see the things he and his allies and his addled son were tweeting about Bragg and his family and everything else. I'm not a lawyer. I mean, and I'll certainly ask him some smart lawyers that I know. But gag orders, there's a fairly extraordinary standard for them in most cases. I think the judge threw a yellow card today. I don't know when or if we're going to get to that. And Trump is a great player of the game of chicken. He can get right up to the line on a lot of these things, and they go, "It wasn't me. I didn't show a picture of a baseball bat next to Bragg's head." And I again, not a lawyer, so I can't really answer that question why they haven't yet. All right, next question. Boring and low energy to me tonight. Did the cult buy it? Now, I only heard it on XM. The cult buys it. The cult buys it. When he looks low energy to us, they say he's loose and relaxed. And if you listen to Tucker Carlson right after the speech ended, he was like, he's loose, he's relaxed, he's a happy warrior. They can always spin it. And they cheered like maniacs at the end of the speech, on air and off. And I think it's important to remember that Trump puts on a show that has a sort of ideological consistency for MAGAs that we don't even understand. He wants to tell them, I'm the guy who's going to be the voice of your retribution against the elites, the smart people, the rich people, the people who read books, the people who think about things. And that was a lot of the speech tonight. So the cult did buy it. And I think the most important thing is that the most powerful normative force in Republican politics, Fox News, I mean, they were gushing on the air. They were like, imagine Sean Hannity dressed up as a little cheerleader, squeeing and dancing across the floor. These people love this. And this is where they wanted to come back to anyway. Rupert wanted them to be with DeSantis because they're aesthetically tired of Trump. But they know they're trapped with their audience. It's Rorschach in Watchmen, right? Where he's in prison and the guards think they're going to threaten him. And he says, I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. Fox's audience has captured them. They knew they would always have to go back to Trump in the end. So, okay, next question. Do you think you should be part of the plea, never run for or hold office again? I cannot imagine a plea bargain that would include that would pass legal muster first. Again, not a lawyer. And I also can't imagine a plea bargain with that in it that he would accept. I mean, I can't conceive of it. I just can't conceive of it. All right, next. This is kind of fun. We should do this more often. You guys like this? Is it cool? I'm good for Q&A generally. Would Trump pick DeSantis as VP? Well, at this point, he's called him a groomer and a pedophile. So I'm guessing no. I also think that Trump really, really, really wants to pick a woman VP. That's why Nikki and Kristi Noem and Marjorie Three Toes are all out there vamping around to show like who's the biggest Trump supporter, who's the biggest Trump cheerleader. So I don't think he'd pick DeSantis. There's also the complexity of being from the same state. Does it benefit you politically? Probably not. Florida's already a red state, so DeSantis doesn't bring a lot to the table in that case. And he also learned a lesson. DeSantis is the establishment candidate, and Pence was an establishment figure too. And Trump doesn't want any adult supervision around him ever. All right, one more. Well, two more. Let's do two more. If DeSantis pulls off 2024, I think it'll be old news 2028, the way things change. Isn't this the moment may not work out for him? Look, presidential politics is a weird business of timing. And the problem for DeSantis now is it's the wrong moment. And Trump is the dominant force in the party, and you can't break that. You can't shatter that. There's no way to alter that. The guy's been impeached twice. You know everything about him. There's no more news that can change. So you can't put more negative information on the table that people go, oh, wow, that disqualifies Trump for me if you're a hardcore MAGA, right? So DeSantis is in a large way blocked right now. Look, if Trump dies tomorrow, he can, whatever. But in 2028, you may see candidates running like Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and the people who are rising up out of the MAGA movement that defines the party now. And you're also going to see the Josh Hawleys and the Ted Cruzes all thinking, yes, now the field is clear. We're done with that Trump fellow. So look, there's never a good or bad time to run for president that can't be changed by some external event. But I don't think he has another option but to wait until 28 at this point. And look, he may be too liberal by 2028 for the Republican Party. Let that sink in for a second. Okay, thanks. Good question. Left side of the crazy GOP coalesce behind Asa Hutchinson. No, you can't. There's not enough. Not enough warm bodies. There's not enough there. We can split off enough of them to not get Trump elected in the general, but you can't add up enough of them to win the primary. It's just not going to, they're just not there. As I said, our last poll has 55% of Republican likely primary voters supporting Donald Trump. Asa Hutchinson did not register in that poll. Bupkis, goose egg, zero, nada, nothing. So, all right, one more question after this. We're almost at a half an hour now. What do you think about the switch in media coverage? ABC, CBS, NBC didn't show his speech live, seeming not to let him command all the stage unfettered. Look, guys, he got the coverage he wanted all day today from the cable nets. And it takes the apocalypse to make a network television broadcast change out. But he got everything he wanted on CNN. Chris Licht's no Trump policy, that worked out well. That lasted about a minute. Fox back pro-Trump all the time, all day today. The outrage, Trump family members coming in and off the stage at Fox because it was, it was suddenly they're back off the bad list, and of course, and MSN's covering it too because it is news, folks. It is news, and when Trump commits news, it's going to get covered in some cases more than we think it should. But here we are. Again, he is a master at stealing the spotlight. What I did see tonight, and I was very heartened by MSNBC's coverage, was that they were calling the lie, they were bracketing the lies. Now, it was basically, Trump is going to say something stupid and false. Here's the false and stupid thing Trump said. Trump says the stupid thing. By the way, that thing he just said was stupid and false. And if we'd had a little more time tonight, I would have run a chyron underneath the entire broadcast we covered of Trump with the word lie repeating over and over again, because it's all bullshit. It doesn't matter if it's going to work. It could be politically helpful bullshit, but it's all bullshit. We all know it. But it's important, as I said in the beginning, to know the terrain of 2024. This was the inflection point. This is the moment the campaign really has flipped over. I think every other Republican candidate in the primary right now is thinking, am I really going to do this? Am I really going to be the one who has to post up against this guy when I can never criticize him, when I can never say a word about him, when I can never do the things that would be necessary to win a campaign? And I think the answer for most of them is no. All right, I'll tell you what, we are going to do one last question, and then I'm going to call it a night. I gave 2 speeches in 24 hours, and I drove 6 hours tonight, and I'm dog freaking tired. There's a cancer on this republic. How can we make it go away? I will tell you, Jeff, because this is the fundamental question. It is not simply beating Trump in 2024. Okay, it's not just that. It's not just that. We have to beat Trump in 2024. That's a fundamental. Everybody needs to put every hand to the oars, every back to the shovel. Every person has to be focused on that primary goal. And inside the Democratic Party, everybody needs to get the fuck in line behind Joe Biden. Stop talking shit about primarying him. Stop talking about how you didn't get everything you wanted in the infrastructure bill or in the Inflation Reduction Act. Get in line. The choice is not perfect socialist dream date or Joe Biden. It's Joe Biden or Donald fucking Trump. So beating him is the primary mission. But 2 things have to happen at the same time. We have to learn a way in this country to raise the cost of being a MAGA candidate so high, to make the political pain of embracing him so acute that people say, God, what am I doing with this guy? Why am I sacrificing everything for this guy? You got to beat him so so fundamentally hard. We got to whip his ass so thoroughly that there's no question. You can't, that no one can wake up on election day and go, yeah, well, maybe there's a question in X or Y state. We got to whip his ass all the way down. He's got to be beat like a rented mule. He's got to be beaten so thoroughly that it's an apocalyptic political wipeout. That's a high hill to climb. It's a lot of work ahead. And we're here at Lincoln are committed to that work. We know you guys are all committed to that work. Whether you're helping us, helping your local efforts to organize and register voters, whether you're like the folks in Wisconsin who are fighting so hard in this election, it's important you stay engaged and you look at it in reality and you focus hard. All right, folks, I'm going to take one more question. On a scale of 1 to 100, how worried should we be about no labels? Nancy Burke. Nancy, the answer about no labels is a billion. A jillion T billion. Imagine a number so large ChatGPT could never parse it in 1,000 years of processing time. No labels is a pro-Trump super PAC. Nancy Jacobson and Mark Penn are leading a pro-Trump super PAC. They are funded by Republican billionaires. They are registering to be on the ballot only in states where Joe Biden narrowly won or lost, because they want to go in there and put Joe Manchin on the ballot. They've already said they're going to do this. Joe Manchin will run as a conservative Democrat on the no labels ticket. He will pull conservative Democrats away from Biden, and Trump will win. This is their plan. They are not trying to accomplish a third party. They're not trying to accomplish centrism or independent voters or everybody singing fucking kumbaya. Mark Penn and Nancy Jacobson are a pro-Trump super PAC taking millions of dollars of Republican major donor money to elect Donald Trump for a second term. This is absolutely what you should think every time you hear no labels. If you hear no labels problem solvers, it sounds great, doesn't it? You know who they named as a problem solver in 2016? Donald fucking Trump. They're a pro-Trump super PAC. They're raising $70+ million from billionaire Republican hedge fund guys and billionaire Republican developers and billionaire Republican Silicon Valley types so they can elect Donald Trump. There's no debate about it. There's no negotiating about it. The numbers don't lie. You look at their maps, which they've changed multiple times now to try to get out of trouble on this. They're in places where Joe Biden absolutely must win. And their candidate, Joe Manchin, who is the single most corrupt individual in Congress in my lifetime by an order of magnitude. And I've been around a long damn time, folks. He will be their guy. They think he will calibrate to pull soft Democratic voters away from Biden. And they will elect Donald Trump with that. And their bullshit statement of, we're only doing this as a contingency plan, a break glass in case of fire plan, if both candidates are morally unacceptable. What is that they're saying to you guys? Because they know Joe Biden's going to be the Democratic candidate. They're saying that Joe Biden is morally equivalent to a guy today who sat in a courtroom being indicted for 34 fucking felonies. They're saying that Joe Biden is equivalent to a guy who ordered his neo-Nazis and his stormtroops and his terrorists and his fanatics to storm the U.S. Capitol to overturn a free and fair democratic election. That's what they're saying. Don't buy their bullshit. They need to be burned to the fucking ground politically. They are a threat to this republic. They are a pro-Trump super PAC. All right, folks, I am dog tired. I'm going to go and fall flat on a flat surface, and I'm going to drink a cold glass of adrenochrome and get in the cryo chamber. So I will see you guys again soon. I like doing this. If you guys think we should do this, leave a chat, leave a note in the comments. We'll do this more frequently. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.